Okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty of the chapter, because honestly, the chapter was surprisingly pretty fucking dope, right? But I just really need to clarify something and get an understanding of this if you guys can help me out with it, because I'm kind of dumb fucked on like what the fuck is going on with this right now. So, the baby. How? How did Zeref and Mavis conceive a child when, like, okay, so I went back to the chapter 450 where they actually kissed, and the only logical thing aside from the worst case scenario is in between that kiss there was some romance as well, because looking at that one, it's kind of a little ambiguous, so you could look at it in that regard, like, okay, maybe they actually got it on in between that, so it wasn't only the kiss that killed her, it was them actually getting it on. I mean, it was so much nicer when it was just a kiss, because it was really romantic and really intimate in that regard. It was like, yeah, you know, they had a kiss and then she died, because aside from that, unless they had an encounter before that of sexual kind where they were just getting it on, the only other logical explanation as to how Zeref and Mavis had a child together was rape. Like, he had to have raped her dead body, which just fucking blows my mind of like, yeah. I mean, I hope we get an explanation on how all this happened, because initially, again, I thought it was just a test tube baby or whatever, but seemingly based on this chapter, Hades, you know, the baby came out of Mavis, there was life in her, and he was like, she's a grown woman after all, so yeah, I guess it did happen. And then he left the baby on the porch, or he left it down a river actually, and then ultimately that baby was found out to be August, which, by the way, great twist. I think it was only up until last week's chapter where people started piecing that together and theorizing that, but for the most part, nobody really seen that one coming. I didn't really see people saying that up until about last week. I started seeing a couple of comments here there, people guessing that that could possibly be the case because of what he was constantly saying, August, of why the king's child or your majesty's child was never loved. And then people were like, okay, maybe it's August. And we found out on this one, great twist. I'm not going to lie, great twist. Because up until this point, we kept on, okay, his name was Rakhi Dragneel, the white Dragneel. So we all just thought, yeah, that's the kid. And the way he let it up until the end of this chapter, where we finally got answers that he was actually just a demon from Zeref's book, it was like, holy shit. Now, I think the way Hero set this up, where we had the contrast of the relationships of, like, you know, father and daughter and father and son, it was showcasing, well, what Gildarts is doing with Kana and for Kana is what you're supposed to do. That's true love. And what August, and especially the White Dragneel, poor White Dragneel, my God, what happened to him? But like, that was showcasing the two different places of like relationships. One is a great relationship, and that's the fact that Kana didn't really know Gildarts like that, but he still came through. He was a good person. Ultimately, he loves her and he'll do anything for her. Zeref, you can't say the same for him, which also showcases that even if he knew August was his son, he really wouldn't have given a fuck either. I truly don't believe, because like the White Dragneel, he called him his son and he was an experiment and a demon from the book or whatever, but nevertheless, look what he did to him. He was kicking him. You ruined this fight. Like, oh my God, I actually feel kind of bad for Rakid. I mean, he's there crying. Wow. Wow, like, yo, honestly, that was fucking savage, and that showcases that Zeref is a true piece of shit. So it's starting to make me believe, because even though, yeah, you know, the joke, no people die in Fairy Tail, whatever, like, the good guys don't die in Fairy Tail, but we have seen quite a few of the Spriggan die already, so it really leads me to believe that the only way to end all this for Zeref, there's really no repentance for this guy. Like, he needs to die, because look how he's treating the White Dragneel there, and all the White Dragneel wants is love from him, and, you know, because he feels as though he's his son, even though he's really just a demon from the book, and he's just an experiment or whatever. Nevertheless, he wanted love, and Zeref, my God. So for the most part, a lot of the chapter was Gildarts versus August, with Kana throwing in the mix or whatever, and I honestly don't believe in any way, because I'm sure there's going to be people calling bullshit, whatever, and I'm still standing, because I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to say what I said beforehand, because I've already established that if Gildarts wins this fight, as long as it's Gildarts doing it or whatever, I will be fine with it, because Gildarts has always been established to be one of the strongest of Fairy Tail, right? It's always been like, yo, Gildarts is the lead dude. It's just a matter of how the fight goes along, and it could be a solid fight, and it was. Honestly, he used strategy. He figured out August's weakness. Ultimately, everything that went down was great. Like, even when he hit him in the place, I thought, like, oh, that's perfect, referencing back to what happened with Actor Logia. It was like, oh, you thought you was doing something, but I already lost that chunk when I fought Actor Logia, so that was great as well. Like, this is probably probably one of the best fights, which isn't saying too much because the Spriggan 12 have just been bodied left and right, but nevertheless, this is probably the best fight. Maybe you'd argue the Wendy against Demaria fight was pretty good too, but I would argue that this is one of the best, if not the best fights of this arc. There was no BS. The way he defeated him, figuring out his, weakness, and his magic basically was copying, and he's like, oh, but you need the material, you can't copy my arm. That was great. And honestly, just seeing Gildarts stomping him down, it was like, I think it's also, it's a corny theme, but nevertheless, it's a theme as well, as that this is what love can do. Like, I'm protecting my daughter, so I'm gonna fuck you up and I'm gonna kick your ass. That's the difference. August never had love. He still doesn't understand it. So it's interesting that the closest thing I think he did have to some sort of bond, and I think had he spent more time in not just this overall Alvarez Empire setting, but like in a normal setting, I think Brandish and him could have had that type of relationship as well. Like, except obviously it's not that August is getting the love from a parent, but he could have, I think, give that to Brandish had they spent more time together, because we've seen inklings of that relationship or whatever. And honestly, the fight as a whole, really good stuff. I have nothing to complain about. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be, having their critiques of like, oh, it was so convenient that he hit in that exact spot that Acnologia took out of, Gildarts, and it's like, no, it was fine. And honestly, just, it was strategy. This is what fairy tale fights should have. You figure out your opponent's weakness, you use it to your advantage, and you kick their fucking ass, even if you're not stronger. Like, the difference between this type of fight versus, like, Natsu just bodying people that are thousands of leagues ahead of him or whatever. No, Gildarts has been established as a great fighter, one of the top of fairy tale, if not the top of fairy tale. He figured out his weakness, kicked his ass, simple as, and Kana throwing the cards as well. It made Kana a little bit more useful, and it showcased and it helped. So even though Kana didn't run away, like, it would have been better to give him, the advantage of not having to worry about her, ultimately her presence throwing the cards helped him to figure out, which again goes into the whole theme of love and being there for one another. So it's a corny thing, but nevertheless it worked, and honestly it worked very well for the fight. Like, really good fight, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but Hiro did a good job with this fight. And then going back to Rakid and Zeref, I mean, it's obvious that there is a side of Zeref that isn't that cruel, because like, you look at his eyes, every time Zeref's eyes is in that swirly looking spiral shape or whatever, that's when he's completely out of his mind. And it seems as though Natsu is one of the triggers for him that turned him into that mode. Like, you interrupted my fight with Natsu? Oh hell no. So it's his obsession and his whatever it is, I guess his love and longing for Natsu to, be by his side or whatever, is what makes him go this way and what makes him lose his mind. And honestly, it's just like, again, the twist at the end was great, but poor fucking Rakid. All he wanted was some love. And I'm kind of curious how he got tricked into thinking that he was Zeref's son this entire time. Like, why was he under that belief? I mean, he had the last name as well, but did Zeref just because, like, okay, he's kind of strong, I'll keep him around, I'll let him believe what he wants, that's why he did that? And then the August situation, like, again, I don't want to keep on talking too much about that, but like, I really would love to know when it was that they were able to get it in, because initially I just thought, okay, Zeref did an experiment, got Mavis's DNA, used his DNA, and created August, but that certainly wasn't the case. And I liked even him naming him, like, he had no idea that that was his son, but he named him August because it reminded him of a girl. So it was like, even though he didn't know that was his son, it still kind of connected well. And honestly, the chapter as a whole, very good stuff, very, very good stuff, close to even great, one of the best fights in this arc, which I know it's not saying much, I know, but it made sense. And the twist at the end is the ribbon on top that tied everything very nicely. So I'm gonna give it a 8.5 to even a 9. I would argue the 9, just because for fairy tale standards, at the very least, it was really nicely done. Great twist, great fight. Like, what more can you say? So fuck it, I give it the 9. Why not? Yeah, it deserves it. Kind of curious what you guys think. For starters, the big question, how was August conceived? Like, how did it happen? We know that this was a long time ago, because if you even look at the flashback, Hades was like pretty freaking young. This was probably within the realm of a year after Mavis's death. That's when he found out, oh shit, she's pregnant, there's life in there. So it was around a year after the events of Mavis's death, and I'm assuming that was about, what, like 100 years ago or something like that. So August is about 100 years old at this point. And also, real quickly to touch on, because August kept on asking that question, but it was more so metaphoric regarding why was the king's child never loved. it was more metaphoric because he knows the answer already. He was giving us the answer at the end because he didn't know he existed. So that was nicely done. And what are your thoughts on the fight? Did you like it? Did you hate it? I mean, I don't think there's any reason to hate the Gildarts versus August fight. It went down very nicely, very good conclusion, very smart and strategic, and I wish more fairy tale fights were like that. Any overall thoughts of the chapter? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.